Jack Della Maddalena is going to absolutely destroy Islam Makhachev at UFC 322. I'm sick of pretending Islam is some untouchable god of MMA. He's not even done anything that special in his career, apart from KO and Volk off the couch. People ride this guy's nuts 24/7. Like, I get it. He's good, solid, well-rounded and highly skilled. But really? This guy is your GOAT? Looks more like a goat fucker to me. Okay, whoa. Pump the brakes. I'm not trying to be completely disrespectful to Islam Makhachev here. I actually respect Islam a lot as a fighter. This guy's on a legendary win streak. He's finishing guys dominantly, beating huge names and making it look easy. Very entertaining too. He's aggressive, active enough, and he seems like a good, humble guy. But I don't know. I feel like Islam's fan base treats this guy like he walks on Dagestani water. I know I'm going to cop a shit ton of hate from Islam fans for this video, but I don't mind. Bring it on. I don't hate Islam. It's just uncertainty and a lack of real conviction that this guy is the greatest of all time. If he goes up to welterweight and starches JDM easily, I think his argument is going to be a lot stronger. But I just don't see it. The fan base opinion of Islam all turned around very quickly off beating an overly aggressive Charles Oliveira. I remember feeling this bizarre shift. Islam's overrated, doesn't deserve a title shot. And then next minute he chokes out Charles and suddenly he's in the GOAT conversation. The whole thing was a bit on the nose in my opinion. Then came the Volk fights. The first one was razor close. And if you ask most of us biased Aussie hardcores, Volk won that fight. But even if you disagree with that, Islam went life and death with a featherweight. That's a fact. And it looked like he'd seen a ghost in round 5 when Volk was smashing him on top. The crowd went bananas. Islam looked rattled. And even he seemed unsure who'd won when the bell went. Just look at his face after that fight. Is that the face of a guy who's just won? The face of a guy we should be calling the greatest of all time? In the rematch? Sure. Islam made a statement. But let's be real. Volk looked like a bowl of jelly that week. He was never himself, and he got what he deserved for stepping in off the couch. For all of Islam's dominance, he still had to dig very, very deep against smaller guys, compromised opponents, or he has to go in with a really safe game plan. I just reckon JDM is too big of a step up for Islam. To be honest, I think Islam's a bit overrated. I remember just a few years ago, in about 2022, MMA fans were up in arms that Islam even deserved to get a title shot off beating Bobby Green and Dan Hooker. People were raging about Islam, how he'd done nothing, beaten nobody, completely mollycoddled career, patted by plumbers on the regional scene. People were offended that this guy's name would even be uttered in the same breath as Charles Oliveira, who was tearing up the lightweight division at the time. I think I even picked Charles in that fight too. But of course, Islam proved us all wrong. He chokes out Charles and all of a sudden, this guy's better than Khabib. Is he going to be the GOAT? Who beats this guy? Since claiming the belt, he's beaten Volk by a razor-thin decision, beat him again off the couch on a week's notice, then beat a washed-up Dustin Poirier in a close scrap where he got busted up, and then he beat Renato Moicano. Take away the Volk wins, which, don't get me wrong, are about as good as it gets in the UFC. And I'm not trying to sound like Anthony Smith here, like John Jones without his legs and his arms, it wouldn't be that hard to beat. But if you take away the Volk wins from Islam's resume, what's he got left? It doesn't exactly scream a GOAT run to me. Compare that to Khabib's resume. It's not that different. Obviously, the Volk wins are the point of difference, but it's not that different, really. And I think a lot of people can agree Khabib's not even in the top 3 fighters of all time anymore. At UFC 322, Islam's coming up against someone who does not give a fuck about legacy. Islam's the guy coming up. This is foreign territory for him. This is Jack's house. Yeah, Islam's always been a big lightweight, borderline weight bully, but this time he's walking into the cage with a true welterweight psycho who can end your night with one clean counter. I'm still a bit sus on Islam's chin too. Volk doesn't even hit that hard, and he dropped Islam and almost TKO'd him by ground and pound in round 5. Islam doesn't get hit a lot, but when he does, he reacts. He gets busted up in his fights, and he's been knocked out before. This isn't Volk. This isn't Moicano. This is Jack Della fucking Maddalena. So let's talk about why JDM is such a nightmare matchup for Islam Makhachev. First off, size. This isn't another undersized lightweight trying to hang on. Islam's used to having a size advantage and bullying his opponents inside the cage. Moicano used to be a featherweight, Volk's a featherweight, Poirier was a featherweight. JDM is a true welterweight. He's built like a brick shithouse. Proper solid frame, 73-inch reach, thick through the shoulders, and he fights like a big tank unit. Islam's used to guys he can grab, turn, and flatten. Good luck doing that to Jack Della Maddalena. Second, the boxing advantage. Fuck, mate. Have you seen how crispy this bloke's hands are? There's a reason he's getting called the best boxer in the UFC. This guy's lightning fast, mixes it up better than anyone else, got the best uppercut in the business, very high output. He reminds me of a strong, heavy-hitting Max Holloway, and that's very high praise from me. You can't even call him a boxer because that makes him sound like he's predictable. He's not. He's constantly switching stances, flicking the jab out, mixing head, body, head, body. He'll lull you into a rhythm, then bang! Southpaw switch, left straight, you're on the deck. He's sharp, he's accurate, and he doesn't waste punches. Everything lands heavy and clean. Look back at his early run. Pete Rodriguez, first minute of the fight, jab breaks the nose, walk off destruction. Then he starts cooking. Danny Roberts tore him apart. Randy Brown, one hook and he face planted on the ground. Didn't even need the hooks in when he choked him. Just wrapped it up and called it a day. Another reason why Jack's going to win. He's calm under pressure. And he's great at stuffing takedowns, bucking out of submissions and getting back to his feet with urgency. He's got the tools to keep his fight standing. And we saw how much effort and energy Islam had to use against Volk just to keep him down. Couldn't lock up a submission because he was too scared to lose position. How's that going to go against JDM? He's already proven how good he is at this cooked Aussie Craig Jones style of grappling and counter-grappling. Albeit not against guys with the wrestling chops of Islam, but bigger, stronger guys. Even when the wrestlers show up, he's fine. Ramazan Emeev, his first big Russian wrestling test. He got dumped down early, got caught in a nasty choke, but he stayed calm, fought hands, popped back out, and finished the bloke inside a minute. That's what I'm talking about here. He doesn't panic. He doesn't get flustered. He just resets and punishes you for even trying. Look at Basil Hafez. Jack got dumped down hard in the first 10 seconds, got up, got dumped again, got up again. Every single time, same thing. He's working, he's building to the fence, he's not accepting bottom position. And every time they separate and he gets back to the feet, he's landing the bigger, cleaner shots. You can hold him down for a bit, but you're paying interest the second he gets back up. Islam's got a need to make his moments on the ground count because I don't see Jack getting stuck there for long periods of this fight. And while they're standing, look, Islam's a great striker, don't get me wrong, and he's still improving. But JDM is a different animal on the feet. I don't see Islam's game plan including large amounts of time kickboxing with JDM. I just don't see it. Go back and watch the Gilbert Burns fight. Burns had him in trouble early, couple of takedowns, bit of control time, looked like he was stealing the rounds, and then Jack just decided that he'd had enough. Late in the third, Burns shoots again, Jack times a knee, straight up the middle, nasty. Bang, drops him, pounds him out, finishes him. That there is the difference. When Islam slows down, Jack's still going to be there, a monster of a welterweight, plenty of cardio of his own, and the heaviest hands Islam's ever come up against, by a big margin too. Nobody Islam's fought lands as often or as clean as JDM, and we saw what can happen to Islam if he takes a decent one on the chin. And then you've got Jack's epic performance to win the belt against Belal, remember the name, Muhammad, the so-called cardio king, the grinder, the guy that no one looks good against. JDM just shut him down, defended the takedowns, jabbed his head off, ripped the body, clean combos, perfect range control. Belal had nothing. Not the wrestling, not the gas tank, couldn't get his volume going, Jack beat him everywhere. In that fight, Jack was the calmest, sharpest, most patient that he's ever looked, and he just keeps stacking up shots and volume until Belal couldn't take it. Great big fight, championship experience for Jack. That will play well into his fight against Islam. And FYI, Belal was working closely with Team Khabib and Islam Makhachev in preparation for that fight. Those guys probably thought they'd cracked the code for beating these Aussie guys, but Jack knew they had another thing coming. If they can't get Belal across the line, what's to say Islam will do any better? Yeah, I think Islam's a better fighter than Belal, but by a lot, I don't know. Belal's got a great resume and legacy, pretty underrated if you ask me, and there's a lot of guys that Belal's beaten that I'm not sure Islam would beat. It's an interesting comparison. There's a lot of MMA math happening here, but I do think that JDM's performance against Belal was a secret dose of humble pie for Team Khabib, and they would not have liked that. I reckon Khabib and Islam think they're pretty invincible, and anyone who comes to their camp, they would expect them to win their next fight. So now Islam's stepping up into that. A bigger, longer, sharper striker with elite takedown defense and enough composure to stay dangerous for all 25 minutes. The difference is Islam's whole game depends on control. He needs to make it his fight. Slow, suffocating, and technical. Either that or he latches up his signature D'Arce choke and Jack's just never felt anything like it. There is a big difference between getting your jugular squeezed by Islam Makhachev or by Ange Looser. I will admit that. But Jack is not going to let Islam do that. He's got that ripper Aussie counter wrestling style that's perfect for this fight. If you custom built a fighter to beat Islam, I reckon it would look a hell of a lot like Jack Della Maddalena. Islam is great when he's the hammer, but now he's fighting a bloke who hits back just as hard and can't be bullied. Islam's got the pressure, the grappling, the IQ, no doubt. But Jack's got the size, the speed, and the damage advantage. If Islam can't get that early takedown and secure position, he's standing in front of a meat grinder who can break his ribs, his nose, or his will in one clean exchange. So yeah, Islam might be up there with the pound-for-pound kings, but at UFC 322, he's basically walking into Perth. He's going into a bad matchup, the worst matchup he's ever had. He's walking into a guy who doesn't give a fuck about his legacy or his hype. This isn't Charles Oliveira. This isn't Alexander Volkanovski. This is Jack Della Maddalena, Australia's new king of violence. And I reckon he's about to make Islam look very human. But look, maybe I'm full of shit. Maybe Islam comes in, puts on a dominant performance and reminds us all why he's the champ. If he runs through Jack, no questions, I'll cop it on the chin. I'll sit down right here next week and make an Islam appreciation video. I'll crown him the real deal and I'll admit I was waffling out my ass. That is the fun of all of this. We gon' find out Saturday night, baby. Now, I want to know what you guys think. Does Islam absolutely ragdoll him, or does JDM send him back to the cliffs of Dagestan with his tail between his legs? Drop your predictions in the comments. I'm calling knee up the middle, round 3, JDM. Perth rises. Like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram @PunchOnsMMA. More content coming soon. Punch on.